Welcome back to CryptoZonZ, peer-to-peer financial empowerment. Hashtag love all, serve others. Who am I? In this video, we'll do zone coverage under Zone 3, which is personal development. And I've entitled this episode, Who Am I? For a couple of reasons. There's a couple of things I want to accomplish in this video. Number one, just to be open and transparent, and hopefully you'll be able to resonate more with why I do CryptoZonZ. And number two, just to share briefly about my own personal experience in answering that question for myself and sharing how other people have responded in my own life as I've been open and hopefully be able to have some takeaways from that. But being open isn't a natural thing for most of us, yet it is very, very beneficial. And I challenge you to think that, with letting people know who we are, we got to share the good, the bad, and the ugly if they're really going to know who we are. And it's really tends to build close, long-standing relationships when people really know who we are. And it's when we share the ugly stuff actually that really I think tends to knit together some relationships, because in my own experiences I've done that with others. As I'm sharing from the pit, so to speak, I can almost hear them thinking out loud, I kind of like this person. And what I have seen happen time and time again is that they almost as an immediate response begin to share from their own ugly experience, because there's a certain resonation that happens there. Because people from their gut, I mean, they can tell who's lying, who's being deceitful, who's being real. But of course, we all know that when we're being real with each other, that's when it really builds some very important and valuable relations based on the foundation of truth and reality. But as I've looked throughout the recent DeFi craze and all of the research that I've done, I've seen what seems to be a lot of these guys, these YouTubers are putting videos out almost as clickbait, and they seem to be optimized for views. It's like, what's the latest, greatest thing to buy, or what's the latest, greatest thing to watch? And, buyer beware and do your own research. You are the only one responsible for your own actions. By and large, there are some incredible use cases that are coming out of this, absolutely, positively, with the yield farming and staking and the decentralization that enables a lot wider scope of audience for the common man to get involved in some very, very powerful financial tools. But at the same time, most of these are just, they're not going to last long, and some of them are flat out scams. So, but with the plethora of videos that I've watched, it just seems like some of them are almost dishonest in a way, where they just put things out. And my value proposal in doing CryptoZonZ in the first place was to provide honesty and credibility and dependability as an information source for Bitcoin and cryptos and peer-to-peer fintech. And so, I mean, that's what I try to do generally in my life anyway, provide honesty, some emotional value, some sympathetic value, some empathetic value, some provide a skill set and some intellectual value, some emotional value, some informational value, some social value. What else? Just being dependable and credible. And so when I look back when I think back about some of the videos I've done, or most of the videos in CryptoZonZ, I don't see that I've really been that open and transparent. So I'm going to share with you some of my upbringing, some of my young adulthood, and some of the things that I have for lifetime goals. But I was born and raised dead center of the national average of what I call middle America. And what I mean by that is I was born and raised in a large city. I'm an inner city kid. And I grew up at a time that I could just rip and run, and mainly because I had two very faithful parents, which I super appreciate. They were married over 50 years when my dad passed away not too long ago, and my mom is doing very well into her 90s right now. But I can remember so many times they just let us rip and run, and we had bikes, which really, once I was able to ride a bike, that just really made my world a lot larger. But I can remember from like 4 years old, I can remember some very clear, vivid memories I can remember when I was 4 years old, because I started kindergarten when I was 4, but right outside my back door, there was a green space. We call it the triangle, because that's what it was. But we could get a baseball game going like that. And it was awesome, because we could, I started playing sports with African Americans and whites and Native Americans and Asians right outside my back door, just like that. And even to this day, I kind of crave that balance of culture in my relationships. But like third base was a 40-foot towering elm tree. First base was the curb that was across the street. And these streets, they intersected somewhere in center field out there. But yeah, I played more baseball than anything else. But growing up as a kid, that was my life. Played a lot of baseball, a lot of basketball, which is my favorite sport, a lot of football. And then there was a house in the neighborhood that was across the street, little ways down, a couple doors down, and it burnt down. And what ended up happening, the neighbors on either side, they each bought half of the lot, and we were really good friends with the one on the one side. And there's like 3 winters in a row we built our own hockey rinks, and we pulled any big pieces of wood we could get. Even like at the time, my parents were redoing a lot of doors in our house, so we brought these doors and wood. Anyway, it was awesome. We built our own little. It was probably about the third of a size of a real rink, which is quite big for getting a game with 6 guys, with rubber pucks. And man, we play out there all winter long. I never did play an organized sport in hockey, but with basketball and football and baseball, I did. And but as a freshman, I was all of 5'3", 99 pounds, dripping wet, and I was at a high school where they had 100 people try out for the football team, and I was the fifth string tailback, so that didn't work out real good for me. I got in a couple of games, a couple of plays every game, but I played a lot of basketball, and then when it came time for the spring in baseball, and that was a sport that I was by far the best at, but I got cut. And so as a freshman, which I was really a true eighth grader because I was a year behind, or a year younger than everybody. But as a freshman, I went out for track, and I set a freshman record for my high school in the mile race. It was like I broke 5 minutes. It was like 4 minutes and 56 seconds. And so I just had a lot of success there, and I was a 1 miler and a 2 miler in the track. And then when it came down for the fall again, I went out for the cross country team. And my claim to fame in the cross country was one year we were the 9th rated team in the state in a bracket that was the smaller schools, and we handily beat the 3rd rated team in a face-to-face competition, the 3rd rated team in the state. And then for my senior year, I was elected as co-captain by my peers. It's one of the greatest honors I've ever received in my life. But I want to go back a little bit. I was born and raised a twin. I'm an identical twin. And this is me on this side. And my twin brother is 2 minutes older. And it was an awesome experience growing up as a twin because it really brought us both, and I know for myself especially, some really cool attention, some good vibes all the way through my youth. And parents, when you pay attention to your children, that gives them a good base for self-image and for value. And I got that from my parents and my family, and also from my social life at large, out with my teachers and in grade school and all that. So that was really good, and it boded well for my education. I was very intelligent. I'm very intelligent. Numbers come easy, so math and science was very, very easy for me. Did a couple of years of college. But at about like 14, I started to drink and smoking weed, and got really addicted to. It was kind of an escape for me. But as I became a young adult, it just became more and more of a crutch for me. And the long and short of it, I drank a lot of years, but it's been 17 years since I've had even a drop. I started to get in trouble with the law because of a lot of just unhealthy behaviors, and hurt a lot of people. And I quit drinking one day, and that was over 17 years ago. Because I was really just going insane, and we know that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again that doesn't work. And one day I just changed. I had to do some change, and maybe some people can quit drinking and truly become a social drinker, but I just decided I'm not going to be that. I'm just going to quit it cold turkey, and I don't intend to have another drop for the rest of my life, because the first day that I had no drinking was the first day that I really started being able to make some healthy choices in my life. And fast forward to today, what I can say is that, man, my life is like practically drama-free compared to the way it was, even 17 years ago. So I've been able to really laser focus much more on being motivated and driven and have had a lot of successes and, a huge boost in self-image. And really I want to mention too that I'm a father. I have a lot of daughters and a lot of sons. And what I teach them is that experience is the best teacher. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. I mean, just go out. I remember my dad saying, and I never could make much sense of it until I made a lot of mistakes. He said, do something, even if it's wrong. And what I found in my own life is I have made so many mistakes. I feel like I've learned more than anybody because I feel like I've made more mistakes than anybody. And there's a time for being down after you make a mistake, but there's a time for, hey, getting up. Like Vince Lombardi says, it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's if you get back up. And so just get back up because, yeah, experience is the greatest teacher. So that's what I teach my children. And when you hurt people or you make mistakes, it's your responsibility to go back and apologize. But it's not you're responsible for the action, but you're not responsible for the reaction. And I know that there's people in my life who I've hurt because of my own actions, but they still, to this day, tend to treat me, or don't treat me at all, but they tend to treat me as if I'm that same person that I was 20 years ago, which, wow, it's so blow away wrong. But what I mean to say is just that some people they treat you like as if you've never changed. And that's why I teach my kids that hey, you're not responsible for their reaction, but you are responsible for apologizing. My mom was a nurse. My dad was a skilled laborer. My mom stayed home to raise the kids. My dad really took it to the next level. He became a treasurer of a fraternal organization related to the skilled labor he was in, and he was just the best of the best. He was very, very, very dedicated to humanity, and I really appreciate the example that he set for me and his hard work and treating others as if you're the same way as you treat yourself. So I'd written down a few notes here. Oh yeah, what I wanted to say about recently I've had some health challenges. In the midst of all that, I actually quit drinking coffee, but this is the first time actually in 8 days that I've had a cup of coffee, and I've experienced withdrawals from that. This is the longest I've gone without some caffeine for probably 25 years. But it's incredible to be alcohol and drug free. I quit smoking about 10 years ago. I began smoking when I was like 13. There was a time in my life where I quit for 10 years and I picked it back up again, but now it's been about 10 years. And I don't intend to have another cigarette the rest of my days either. But it's incredible living a life without drugs or even caffeine. What I intend to do is, we'll see if I'm going to quit it totally. I got turned on to this thing called chaga, which is a moss or some kind, or a fungi, and it grows on birch trees, but it's like 300 times the antioxidants of like blueberries, which is highly antioxidant. But I'm going to start looking at teas, and I don't intend to drink nearly as much as I ever did in coffee, but maybe one in the evening, maybe one in the morning, and maybe none at all. But I make a mean cup of coffee. I make a pour over fresh ground beans, and with the electric kettle, I just pour that right over and brew it up just as strong as you want it. But I kind of want to get wrapping it up here, but I hope that just me being open helps you to resonate with why I do CryptoZonZ. I did want to bring up one thing that happened in like 2008. I was being divorced, or I was divorcing, and as part of that, I went to my mortgage holder, Bank of America, and told them, hey, can you do me a solid here? Going through this, and they said, yeah. Well, the long and short of it is, I ended up suing them. And I won a $2,000 class action suit. That was a class action suit I won against them, but I also sued them in court. I intended to do what I was going for is get title because of the dastardly ways that they were operating while lying to my face through a tough time in my life where they said they were trying to help me. But they ended up, because I initiated this action against them. I was doing it, I forget what the word is, but it's when you represent by yourself. But during that time, I had a lawyer offer to go pro bono, and he helped me through this process, and we got it through the local courts and got it actually in the district court of 7th District of the federal courts. So I got it passed like more than like 1 out of 100,000 people. But I really found in the federal courts, the judges told my lawyer, hey, don't even come up here. We're just going to kick you right out. Don't even show face up here. And I decided not to take it any further. I wish in retrospect that I would have, but there's no shoulda, coulda, woulda. That's what happened. But what I got a real taste of was just the corruption, both in government and the judicial system and the rules and the laws and in the banking system. And that really spurred me. Even before that, I'd done a lot of research economically and especially in the real estate industry. But then I didn't really get turned on to Bitcoin up until 2015, and I've gone down the rabbit hole and just keep going down. But it was largely because of that bad taste and corruptive experience I had in reality that really has spurred me on to this freedom-seeking, independent, trustless, permissionless, borderless, open, public, decentralized, peer-to-peer fintech that is just lowers the playing field. It's the greatest financial innovation in the history of mankind that enables anybody with internet anywhere to be able to operate and participate in some financially powerful tools that have never been available to a common man before. So that's why I promote the knowledge of it and the innovation of it, and that's why I do what I do. And I have a modus operandi financially of running my business where any profits that I do make, I intend to turn 90% of the profits over to charity and just use about 10% for administrative costs and things of that nature. I did want to bring up something interesting about my dad. He was, at age 17, he went in to pay cash for a brand new, never driven, a brand new car. And the dealer wouldn't let him buy it because he was underage, so he had to go home and get his dad. But I can remember just as a young kid of 10, him having these spiral notebooks that flip over on the top, and he wanted us to keep track. And that's kind of the first step in finances and being able to take your own power to keep track. And what I'm learning now is to not have a scarcity mindset, but more of an abundance mindset to keep track, which empowers you to be able to spend more money to be productive. So even in today's economy that is filled with confusion and risk and possible imminent near crash, looking back to 1929, we see that a third of the people were destitute and homeless and starving and dying. A third of the people actually maintained at great difficulty, in which with much more energy expense, but they maintained. And about a third of the people actually came out of the Depression having gained. And so a lot of it is mindset, and that's what I promote in CryptoZonZ. And I just hope that you resonate with some of the background that I've had, and I hope that, well, I'll just wrap it up here with what I usually say is hashtag love all, serve others, which means that there's things that are way more important than money. I don't need money. I'm not saying I don't want it, but I don't base my life on needing it. And so therefore, I don't. And I wish you well, I wish you wealth, I wish you health. And until next time, peace.